Hey guys, welcome to another episode of El Jefe's Shop Shop. So today, it's a new day. The Volkswagen is gone. It's no longer in my driveway. So now I need to focus on the Corolla. So I'm just going to run down the shop and get some things for this Corolla build. Some bog, some rattle cans. Should be about it for now. Battery, and then we'll try and radio it and start driving it. So I just finished running around getting some parts. So I've got some insect spray, some insect bombs, some body filler, a battery, 2 rolls of tape. I've got 3 newspapers which were free, 4 tins of satin black and 7 tins of metallic red. So whatever I don't use I'll either keep and refund myself or I'll take back. So this is going to be for the 30k challenge. So the Corolla is going to be red. I'll do the door frames black. I want to insect bomb the hell out of it and keep a spray can in the car just in case because it's full of spiders at the moment. And obviously it needs a new battery and then masking tape and paper to mask it all off. So probably won't get a lot done today because it's pretty hot, but at least I've got some parts now. So I just put the bug bombs in the Corolla and you can see all of the bug bomb stuff coming out of all the rust holes down the bottom there on the left and out of the bonnet, out the front, which you can't really see on camera, and the inside's all fogged up. It'll be fine. So it's been about 2.5 hours. So I've opened up all the doors in the boot and the bonnet to let the bug bombs vent out like it says to in the packet. So I've just emptied the boot and put in what fuel was left in the jerry can into the car and chuck the new battery in. So now I'm going to start it up and let it get to temp or let it overheat or whatever it needs to do. Just see how it sits and idles for a while. So this thing starts and runs pretty easily, but it has either got no exhaust from halfway back or someone's put a muffler on it. I haven't even looked yet, so we'll find out. Looks like it's been cut off at the diff. That's helpful. Alright, so I'll just let it sit here for a bit and warm up. So I'm assuming this is going to get hot or overheat, something along those lines, because it's got a new radiator cap, new hose, electric fan, mechanically driven fan, reasonably new looking fan shroud, new bottom hose, so something tells me it's overheated before. And if you look at the radiator, most of the fins are missing. So probably going to need a new radiator, which I've already sourced, but because this is an auto, it has the trans lines that go into the radiator, and I've only got the radiator from a manual, which doesn't have those, so I need to get a different trans cooler and a different radiator, which is fine, but I need to work it out first. Remember kids, always use good quality tin. Not even 5 minutes and all the tint's off. It's pretty easy. I'm just going to try and get the glue off now. I've got the car up in jack stands and it was running for about 25 minutes and it didn't overheat, but it got reasonably warm. So nothing to be too concerned about, but if it gets that warm just idling, I'm a bit worried about driving it. So I'll just let it cool down and see how we go. So I've just taken the rims and tyres off of the Corolla and I've ripped the trim rings and 2 centre caps off. So there's actually 4 14s and a 13, and then those 3 have the same tyre. That's a different tyre, and that's a different tyre. So this is supposed to be the stock K30 wheel, so I'll put that in the boot, and that tyre has been repaired, so I'm not sure if it still holds air or doesn't hold air anymore. So I'd like to run these 4 as a set of 14s and they all match, rather than running one odd one. But we'll see how we go, see what holds air. So I'm just going to clean these up and paint them black. So I've just painted the 4 matching stockies, and then the 5th one, the not matching one, was still a bit wet, so I've painted it, but there's water on it, so I have to paint it again. But these 4 came up okay. Look heaps better than the Raddy Silver, so I'll chuck those back on in a minute. So I've got the Corolla back on the wheels, they're all painted, and I've put the trim rings back on, and the silver trim rings and the wheel nuts are both chrome, so looks alright. So that's one step out of the way. So then I've also gone around and sprayed all of the door hinges, the boot hinges, the bonnet catch, and pretty much everything that moves with WD-40, just to try and get rid of any squeaks or noises. So I need to pump up the tyres obviously, and then tomorrow's plan, or the next time I work on this, is paint around the door frames in black, and probably peel all the wrap off the bonnet and maybe paint that black, and then the rest of the car will be red. And I might do a stripe or something on the back just in black to go and break it up a bit. So it's coming along, but it should be pretty fun and might look alright. So it's the last day of my holidays before I have to go back to work. So I'm going to try and get some stuff done on the Corolla. I was hoping to paint it today, but it's pouring down with rain. So apparently we've just seen the end of it now. So I'm going to try and get some foam and some bog in the back end and try and patch up a few spots. So what I'm hoping to use for the majority of the bog work is this Eco Foam expanding foam stuff. So I got this from a guy at work, so I need to mix those 1 part each into a cup and then mix that up and then pour it into where I want, and it should expand. So hopefully this will take up most of the room. So mostly what I want to patch today is this huge hole down here. So I'm going to lay some alfoil in there and then put the foam over the top and then let it dry, and then once it's dry I'll bog it from the outside in, and hopefully that'll close up some of that hole because it's pretty big at the moment. I put the vacuum cleaner through that when I was vacuuming out the pocket. So I just want to point out this is definitely not how you should do it. If I was planning on keeping the car, or the car was worth money, I would be cutting and welding in a new panel. But because this is just a cheap Corolla, I'm going to go the foam option. So I've got my 2 different cups with the 2 different products in it. So now I'm going to mix these 2 into one of these cups and try pouring it in the boot. So here is the alfoil pocket that I've made. And again, don't do this. If you care about your car, just don't do it. So it turns out I'm pretty impatient, and this has actually worked really well. So I'm going to try and just leave that, and I'll cut it down once it's finished expanding. There's way too much in there. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side to fix this hole up, but I'm definitely not going to use that much because that is out of control. So it's only been a couple of minutes. I've just finished doing the left hand side, and the right hand side has swollen heaps and is already reasonably hard. It's a little bit tacky, it's a little bit spongy, but it is foam, so that's kind of expected. So that filled up the hole reasonably well, so now I'll be able to layer some bog on top of this. So I'm just walking around the car looking for rust spots to bog up. This was a small bubble in the front quarter, but now there's a pile of rust on the ground. And this car has already been bogged before, so if you're sitting at home thinking, oh no, he's ruining that car, you're probably right, but someone already did it before me, and it was $500, and I get to have some fun. So this is the passenger side front quarter. As you can see here, it's starting to rust, or starting to lift, but I'll show you in 2 minutes when I've hit it with the pry bar and scraped out all the rust. So it's been maybe 2 minutes, and I've knocked out some of the bog and some of the rust and all the dirt from behind it. There is more rust at least, and probably a little bit more bog, but I don't want to go any further than that. That's good enough for what I want. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at small rust holes or rust bubbles that are starting to form. They're quite a lot bigger than you think they are. So I've dug out most of the rust, and I said I would document it for the next sale. So along the front of the bonnet, there's a spot there as well. Front guard, rear quarter, it's pretty much gone. Down the bottom in the pocket. The boot's actually really good, and the two doors on the left hand side are really good. There's a little bit down here, which I'm not going to worry about, but someone else might. So foam in there, foam in there. A little bit here, which I'm not going to worry about either. A little bit starting to form in the corner of the window. Then down in that pocket again, you can see the foam's leaked out a bit. There's some in this quarter, not a heap, but there's some in there. Some in this door down the bottom. Here as well, on both doors. And then the front quarter on the other side. And then there's also fender flare holes on all four corners. So it's definitely not the cleanest shell. There's a few dents, which you can see here right on the roof. So I'm going to run around with bog now and patch up a few of those holes, because I'm not trying to make a show car here. I'm just trying to make it so that the holes aren't there anymore, and once it's got a fresh coat of rattle can, it won't get pulled over in 2 seconds, because at the moment, rust hole, rust hole, rust hole, it's going to get pulled over pretty quick. So just patch them up and then hopefully not sand them too hard, and then chuck some paint on it. So I've just done the first round of bog, which looks horrible, and I'm definitely going to have to do a bit more sanding than I was hoping, because this stuff is pretty deep holes. So I tried to fill up the fender flare holes. I don't know if that's going to work. A few spots on the doors which should be okay. That spot probably need another go. Down there needs about 10 more trips because that is deep. Coming around the other side, again down the bottom needs to go again. This one needs to dry, so I've actually got something to stick to because there was pretty much no guard left there. So I'll have to do that one again. Then both of these doors are really good. And then this one I need to fill in with bog, so that'll be a heap of bog in that one. And then again the fender flare holes. And then there's one on the small one on the bonnet. And I want to take the chrome strip off the front and then bog in the bonnet, and then maybe put the chrome strip back on, or maybe leave it off. See how we go. So I'll just let this dry. It's just started raining again, which is really good for bog. So I'll just let this dry and then try and go again. So I was just waiting for the bog to dry. I've taken off the chrome strips and the badges, because I need to take those off for paint anyway. I'll probably sell the chrome strips because they're pretty sought after, and these ones are really good condition. So I try and get a bit of money back from the car. And now, as you can see, it is raining again. So the bog's going to get wet and probably not work at all. So that's excellent. So probably just wasted my time, but we'll see how we go. So I'm just at Mum's house grabbing a few bits and pieces. So I've got my Moon Eyes steering wheel I got in Japan in the Yokohama Hot Rod Show in 2017, I think it was. Got a pair of mirrors. So these are off my Z50 monkey bike, which aren't the ones I was looking for, but they're the only ones I can find, so they'll have to do. Grab my timing light, a pair of 5-stud spacers, just slip-ons, little 5mm ones for the trailer. A U-bolt for a K30, so if I decide to lower mine, I can take that into the shop, get some new ones made, and then pull my car apart. Battery charger, bubble wrap. So I've just got home from Mum's place and thrown another coat of bog on. So as you can see, this is still a huge hole. It's just not staying in the hole properly. This is just dripping, so that's not much good either. And then I've cut down the foam, so it's at least flat with the boot, or actually tapers off a bit towards the quarters, so both sides. So I'm done with that for now. Here's all the excess foam in the bin. The wind and rain's picking up again, which is great. So that's pretty much done. I reckon that'll sand up okay. I think these will all sand up okay. That one needs going over again. These should be okay as well. So getting there, just need to be patient, do a few coats of bog and sand it again. I'm definitely not painting today because the wind has picked up and it's starting to rain again. So while the weather's fighting me, I'm going to move my attention into the inside. So I'm going to take off this Momo steering wheel. I don't know if it's a genuine or if it's a fake, but I'm going to take it off and replace it with the Moon Eyes steering wheel I just got from Mum's house. So another thing I like to fix or always check on cars that I buy is any aftermarket mods. So I've taken a few out already. He had some lights, some LEDs under the dashboard, and some switches up here, which I have no idea what they did. And then the radio was also aftermarket. So I pulled that out, cut the plug off, and now I'm going to rewire the power source and the earth. The speakers, the wiring's already here, so I'll just tidy it up and rejoin those back in. But this was all twist and tape. This is house wiring, which is your constant 12 volt, which is one piece of wire. I don't know if you can see that very well. And the earth was just wrapped around one of these terminals. So I've got my multimeter, I've got my soldering iron. I'm going to fix this because this is a really easy way for your car to catch on fire. So I've put the new Moon Eye steering wheel on, got the radio rewired, and I also cut the floor mat out for the accelerator and put one on the other side. So the interior is starting to come together. I've hidden as many wires as I can, so it's starting to look alright. Also plugged this speaker back in because it had come undone on the back of the speaker, so should be alright. So I'm not going to sell it with this steering wheel, but I want to drive it with this steering wheel because I don't get to use it very often. So next up is the radiator. So you can see I've taken the cap off already. Just need to undo these two clamps. There's two on the bottom. Take that hose off, take the bottom hose off, take the fan shroud off, and then maybe have to take the front fan off, and then undo the radiator from the radiator support panel, and it should come out the top. So I've just gotten the old radiator out. I had to take the fan off, which is just another 4 10mm bolts, so that's easy enough. So here is the old radiator. And you can tell a lot of the fins are missing. So it turns out a K20 radiator is actually a little bit narrower than a K31. So I've had a little bit of zip tie engineering to hold the radiator on. So on the K30 radiator there is captive nuts here and the bolt comes in from that side. Whereas on the K20 there's a bolt that comes in from this side and the captive nut is on the radiator support panel. With this setup that I've got now with the K20 radiator and a K30 or 55 body, there's no captive nut, so you'd have to run a bolt and a nut through the whole thing. But it doesn't line up anyway, so I've just zip tied it. There's 2 zip ties on each corner, and then I've zip tied the battery in because I don't have a battery mount. So that's pretty firm. So I've just put the bottom radiator hose back on. I just need to put the fan back on with the fan shroud, and then I'll put the top radiator hose back on. And then I've just got to do up the 2 trans lines, fill it with water. So I've got the radiator back in. I've just filled it up with water for now. So because the radiator is a bit shorter than the other one, the fan shroud also needed a bit of zip tie engineering, so just a couple of zip ties here and there. It's all coming along alright. The battery is now facing the other way because the terminals are really close to the bonnet prop, so I've spun the battery around, moved the earth to the radiator support, which is fine. So now I'm just going to let it warm up and see how it handles, see if the temperature is any lower than it was before, because this radiator actually has some fins on it. So I've left the thermo fan off for now. If it does get warm I'll be able to put it back on because I've still got it. But there's no wiring for it at the moment anyway, so I'll have to rewire it, so I've just left it for now. So another thing I need to do is top up the trans fluid. I also need to work out the headlights because only some of them are working at the moment. And the parkers and the indicators and stuff, brake lights. So I have to check all of those over and then do the bodywork, and then I should be able to drive it. So I just went for my first little drive down the street and back, and first impressions are it needs more trans fluid because it's not super happy about changing gears, and the tyres definitely need to be pumped up because the steering is super heavy. Other than that, the engine has a bit of a ticking noise, which is probably just the rockers, so I'll have to adjust those. But other than that, it seems to be reasonably happy to drive. It's just a bit of a task, so it's hunting a little bit, so it's probably got a vacuum leak or something like that as well. But reasonably successful nonetheless. Hello.
Yeah, I think so.
Sharp beak, don't you?
There's a designer necklace from America, I think. American designer.
She's chasing the shoelaces before.
Yeah, it's a cool piece.